Welcome, curious minds, to the deep dive.
Okay, just look around you for a second, wherever you are right now. Seriously, take a moment. Chances are you're like completely surrounded by tech, right? Maybe there's a smart speaker in the corner, kind of listening, or that fitness tracker on your wrist. And let's be honest, your smartphone, probably within arm's reach, maybe even in your hand. Technology is just, it's woven itself into like everything we do. It promises us all this convenience, connection, efficiency, this amazing future. But here's the big question, the one we maybe don't ask enough. Are we really running the show with these tools? Or are they, subtly starting to run us? Okay, let's unpack this because it's really crucial. Today we're diving deep into something super important for basically everyone navigating this digital world. We're talking about humane emerging technology. And that's not just some catchy phrase, right? It's about this really intentional, vital effort, the effort to actually bake your well-being, user well-being, into the DNA at the very core of the tech we use every day. We're drawing on some really thought-provoking stuff today from Dr. Brian Arnold. He's an ed tech expert, a big advocate for humane AI. And he's really pushing us, to look past the shiny surfaces of our gadgets and see what's going on underneath.
Yeah, what's really fascinating, I think, is how Dr. Arnold's work, especially these recent newsletter posts from August 2025, how they really challenge us on our sort of passive acceptance of all this tech. He pushes us to question our own agency, our basic ability to make choices, to act freely. The core idea, as he puts it, is simple but profound. If we're intentional, if we really think about user well-being when we build this stuff, we can actually make sure we use the tools instead of, well, the tools using us. So our mission today really is to equip you, the listener, with that mindset and maybe some practical ways to reclaim that control. We want to help you shift from just being a reactive user, just going with the flow of whatever new tech comes along, to being like an intentional architect of your own digital life. So get into some key questions like, how do you even know when tech is genuinely serving you versus when you're kind of serving it? And how do we move beyond just accepting the latest gadget or app? How do we become more critical consumers, maybe even active participants in shaping what comes next? So yeah, we'll cover some practical tips, some really interesting examples, and maybe some broader philosophical ideas to help you get there.
Exactly. This isn't just like academic theory. It's about the real choices we make every single day. And yeah, we're pulling from those August 2025 newsletter posts by Dr. Arnold, so it's really current thinking, fresh off the digital press. We've kind of structured this deep dive into two main parts. They're connected, obviously. First up, we're going to tackle the problem with progress. We'll dig into that really common, often super frustrating experience, being told the computer can't do that. We'll explore how that phrase, that simple excuse, kind of lets us hand over our own power, our agency to machines without even realizing it. Then in the second part, the utopia-dystopia divide, we'll look at how we can find a better path forward, a more realistic path, more humane, something actually achievable, what Dr. Arnold calls a utopian vision. This means going beyond just tweaking old systems to be a tiny bit faster. It's about daring to really reimagine what technology could make possible if we truly focused on human well-being. So what's in it for you listening right now? Get ready for maybe some aha moments. Some insights that might genuinely change how you look at your phone, your apps, maybe even the world. Okay, this is where it starts getting really relatable, I think, because we've all been there, right? That moment of pure frustration. You're on the phone, maybe with your bank or your internet provider, trying to fix something. A billing mistake, get a refund, whatever. And the person on the other end, they sound sympathetic, maybe, but they just hit you with, oh, I'm so sorry, the computer just says it can't do that. Or the system won't let me make that change. What if that statement, that kind of universal shrug, isn't the whole truth? What if it's not just a technical glitch, but like a deliberate choice?
Dr. Arnold's work suggests it's usually not a real impossibility. It's more likely the system was designed that way,
Right.
which is a human decision, right?
Exactly.
And this little phrase has become what he calls the automation alibi. It's like this universal get-out-of-jail-free card for human decisions. Accountability just sort of vanishes.
It does. It vanishes into the machine.
Yeah. And it's everywhere, masking this deeper problem that really affects our ability to act, to have agency.
That's a great way to put it. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, like you said, this automation alibi, it's not just annoying. It points to this really deep-seated issue of, well, abdication, giving up responsibility.
Right.
So formally, you could define it as the act of basically handing over human responsibility and agency to a tech system, consciously or not. The source material uses some great everyday examples. Beyond that customer service call, think about, say, a doctor's office. The receptionist blames a scheduling mess up on the system, even when you can see open spots online.
Right. That happens all the time. Or a school administrator telling a parent a student can't get access to something important because, the software isn't set up for that. These things happen constantly. And when you look closely, you see the pattern. The key thing is how it gives people a guiltless out. It makes the decision seem like it came from this cold, logical machine, not a person. So, boom, human responsibility disappears.
Yeah, the person who's supposed to help you just throws their hands up.
Exactly. Their hands are tied by the system. And you're left with nowhere to go, no actual person to reason with. It's a very effective smokescreen.
So basically, we're letting machines become the fall guys for human decisions or human design limitations. That's kind of disturbing when you think about it in your daily life.
It really is.
It's like peeling back the layers, isn't it? The system didn't just randomly say no. It was built to say no, or maybe built not to say yes easily.
Precisely.
That distinction feels huge. It changes how you should even approach those moments. So the first step, according to Dr. Arnold, is just recognizing this alibi for what it is, a myth. Every time a system blocks you, every frustrating no, every limitation, it's a designed no.
Right.
It's a human choice, or maybe a whole series of choices, baked right into the code, the architecture, the business rules. And when we just accept the computer did it, we're not just letting a small annoyance go. We're actually giving up our role. As users, as citizens, we're surrendering more of our agency.
Yeah.
And by doing that, we help hide the real issues, right? Like the design choices that were made, the business models behind them, the priorities, maybe profit over people, or efficiency over fairness of whoever built it.
Absolutely. We let the machine take the heat for human decisions, and human accountability just evaporates. And this really brings up a fundamental question for us living now, doesn't it? Are we just sort of passively riding this runaway train of technology, letting it take us wherever? Or can we actually be the engineers? Can we steer this thing towards a more human-friendly destination? The source material argues strongly for the second one, that we can steer it. A lot of this blame shifting, this collective shrug, fits into what people call technological determinism. Okay. That's the idea. You see a lot in news headlines that technology just develops on its own inevitable path.
Yeah.
And society just has to adapt. We have no control. It often gets mixed up with this feeling that whatever pops up on our screen is like an absolute rule, undeniable truth.
Yeah, like if the computer says so.
Exactly. Like that Charlotte's Web syndrome idea. If it's written on the web, it must be true. But that's the polar opposite of another view. Social constructionism, which argues that no, technology and society shape each other. Human choices, culture, values, they're absolutely critical in how tech gets made and used.
Okay, so it's not inevitable.
Not at all. So the question for you listening is, which world do you want? Are you willing to trade your agency, your power to choose, for the seeming convenience of just letting tech happen to you? The news often treats every AI breakthrough like it's some unstoppable force of nature. But scholars like Langdon Winter argued this powerfully. Technology is a social creation. It doesn't have its own will, not yet anyway. It's always been a product of human values, human choices. When we treat it like some external force we can't control, we're not just missing a chance to influence it.
Yeah.
We're actively throwing away our autonomy, our agency. More recently, critics talk about the social shaping of technology, highlighting how human decisions, economic forces, cultural norms, those are what really shape our tools. Put simply, you are the boss, or you should be.
Yeah.
And that means you have the choice, but also the responsibility to engage. We can't be passive. If we don't consciously design tools to support our well-being, we're basically just building our own digital cages.
That distinction is so important, tech, as something we shape versus something that just happens to us. But, I wonder, are there ever times when it is a genuine technical limit, or is it always a design choice? How do we even tell the difference when we're, talking to a chatbot or something?
That's a fair question.
Because this automation alibi, it seems pretty attractive, especially with this black box problem you hear about, which I guess is getting worse with all the complex AI stuff, right? Machine learning.
Definitely. As these systems, especially the deep neural networks, get incredibly complex, it can become genuinely hard, sometimes almost impossible, to trace exactly why they made a particular decision, even for the creators.
Right, the black box.
Exactly. The logic is opaque, and that opacity, it allows this alibi to thrive. It fuels what you could call digital scapegoating. Human choices, maybe even biases, get hidden behind this wall of complex algorithms.
And this isn't just theory, is it? It has real effects.
Oh, absolutely. Major consequences. You look at Sophia Omogenoble's work, Algorithms of Oppression. She showed really clearly how biased data fed into these supposedly neutral search engines leads to biased results that reinforce harmful stereotypes. Or Cathy O'Neill's book, Weapons of Math Destruction. It's full of examples of how these non-transparent algorithms can worsen inequality in things like credit scores, predicting crime hotspots, even hiring decisions.
But garbage in, garbage out applies, but it's more complex.
It is. But the source material really emphasizes we are still responsible for the systems we build and deploy. Even if we don't fully understand every internal step, the ethical weight is still on us, the humans. And connecting this back to the bigger picture, it's really about this silent trade-off we're constantly making, often without fully realizing it, because it's not just the designers and the algorithms. We as users, we're kind of complicit sometimes.
Uh-oh. How so?
Well, we often willingly give up control, give up data for convenience. We don't always weigh the long-term costs. Think about a smart thermostat. So easy, right? Learned your habits.
Yeah, they're great.
But in exchange, maybe your detailed energy usage data is being collected, crunched, maybe even sold. You know? Did you check the terms?
Probably not closely enough.
Or GPS apps. Always finding the fastest route. Fantastic. But are we losing our own sense of direction? Our ability to just, navigate by looking around? Our spatial awareness?
Maybe.
The source argues this trade-off. It's often a losing game for us. Tim Wu wrote about this in The Curse of Bigness, the power these tech companies accumulate. And Shoshana Zuboff, in The Age of Surveillance Capitalism, she takes it further. She argues there's this whole new economic model based on extracting our data, our behavioral surplus, she calls it, using it to predict our behavior, nudge our behavior, all for profit.
That sounds intense.
It is. And the uncomfortable truth is we're often complicit in our own surveillance. We trade these little bits of data, these digital crumbs, for convenience. And it's uncomfortable to think about, but now more than ever we need to ask, is this tech really serving us? Or are we serving it? Or maybe, are we just selling our autonomy way too cheap without realizing its true worth until it's kind of gone?
That's definitely uncomfortable food for thought. That we're part of the system that's maybe using us. And this is where it gets really concrete, doesn't it? Where the algorithm hits the road, literally. The clearest example of this automation alibi causing real harm might be algorithmic management in the gig economy.
Yeah, that's a prime example.
Companies like Uber or delivery services or even warehouses like Amazon, they use these complex algorithms to manage people, right?
Manage, evaluate, even discipline workers.
The algorithm sets prices, tells drivers the best routes, tracks every second of performance.
Right, and it can assign work or take it away.
And you hear those stories. A driver gets deactivated, kicked off the platform, and when they ask why, they get told it was a system decision. That familiar shrug, but digital.
Exactly. There's no human manager to talk to plead your case with, sometimes even to understand the reason why. It's faceless.
And it's not just gig work anymore, is it? You try calling a big company?
Oh, yeah.
Good luck getting a human. It's websites with limited options, endless phone menus.
The business basically shields itself from accountability using automation. No human has to directly deal with your frustration.
Mary L. Gray and Siddharth Suri wrote about this in Ghost Work, right? How many people work for these opaque systems with no real recourse?
They did. And it creates this feeling of powerlessness, alienation. The company uses the automation alibi to protect itself, leaving the worker feeling invisible.
And you said this is creeping into traditional jobs too, software monitoring employees.
Increasingly, tracking productivity, ranking performance, often without clear human oversight or input.
It really brings it back to that core idea, doesn't it?
It does.
The future is just better, more humane when humans are using the tools, not the other way around.
So if we accept that premise, that we are the shapers, or at least we should be, what do we do? What's our responsibility here?
Yeah, what's the answer?
Well, the answer definitely isn't just throwing our phones in the river, right? As tempting as that feels sometimes.
Yeah, been there.
The source calls that smug luddism. Just opting out doesn't solve anything. It actually empowers those who use tech carelessly because you're removing your voice.
Okay, so what's the active response?
The active responsible answer is level up. Boost your digital literacy. Practice digital fluency, understanding not just how to use tech, but the implications. And crucially, join the conversation. Speak up. For yourself, for others, for the future. We have this urgent chance, maybe even an obligation, to push back against the automation alibi. especially if you're in a position where you actually design these tools or make decisions about using them in an organization.
Right. Responsibility comes with privilege.
Absolutely. So for you listening, the next time you hear that phrase, oh, the computer won't let me, don't just accept it. Push back gently but firmly. Ask questions. Okay, who designed it this way? What choices were made that led to this roadblock?
Turn the question back to the human element.
Exactly. What business reason prevents this? You have a right, maybe even a duty, to add your voice. Speak truth to power, even if it's just a customer service line. These systems affect real people, real lives. Those people matter. We need to hold the line, ensure tech choices are thoughtful, ethical, serving well-being. Because here's the thing, technology changes incredibly fast, exponentially almost. But people, our institutions, our habits, we change extremely slowly.
That's for sure.
So we, the people, have to start advocating for ourselves now, intentionally, clearly, before that gap between our tools and our humanity becomes just too wide to cross.
That's a really strong call to action. Stop accepting the alibi, start asking questions. I like that. Okay, so now let's shift gears a bit, but it's related. Let's unpack this feeling we all get. Every time some new tech arrives, AI, VR, whatever's next, there's this initial wave of excitement, right? This utopian promise, a future with no friction, endless possibilities, all problems solved.
The hype cycle.
Exactly. But then almost immediately you feel that little anxiety creeping in.
Yeah?
The dystopian worries.
Yeah. Surveillance, jobs disappearing, losing control.
Precisely. And that gap between the amazing future promised and the messy, sometimes worrying reality we get. That's what Dr. Arnold calls the utopia-dystopia divide.
Okay.
And his point is, we shouldn't just blindly buy the hype, but we also shouldn't get paralyzed by the fear.
Right. Find a middle ground.
Exactly. We need to forge a more realistic, humane, achievable path forward. A topian path, he calls it.
Topian, like not utopia, not dystopia, but a place we can actually build.
Kind of. It's aspirational but grounded. It acknowledges how our own predictable human behaviors, our old habits, our existing structures, how those things shape how we actually use new tech, often in ways the inventors didn't expect. And it shows us how we can consciously steer towards a future we actually want instead of just reacting to whatever Silicon Valley throws at us.
That makes sense. And, what's fascinating here is thinking about how change actually happens. It's not just a straight line into the future. To really grasp how to build this topian future, navigate that divide, we need a way to understand how the future emerges, not just chronologically, but in these qualitatively different patterns.
Yeah.
Like waves washing ashore.
Okay. Different patterns.
Yeah. And the Three Horizons framework, which comes from a futurist named Bill Sharp, is a really useful way to think about this. It helps map change, see where we are, where we could go.
Three horizons. All right, lay it on me.
Okay, so Horizon 1, H1, that's basically the present, like to business as usual. The dominant system, the way things are currently done. It's the established logic, the processes, the infrastructure we rely on today.
Got it. The status quo.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the world keeps changing, right? New challenges, new tech. So this H1 system, it gradually loses its strategic fit. It becomes less effective, kind of clunky, eventually unsustainable. We all see companies stuck in H1 clinging to old ways.
Makes sense.
Then you have Horizon 2, H2. This is the transitional space.
Yeah.
It's often messy, turbulent, but also really dynamic, full of innovation. This is where entrepreneurs or intrapreneurs, innovators inside big companies are experimenting, trying new things in response to H1's problems.
So lots of experiments, new ideas bubbling up.
Right. Now, some of these H2 innovations, they just get sort of absorbed by H1. They prop up the old system, make it slightly better, but don't fundamentally change it.
Like putting a faster engine in an old car model.
Good analogy. It's an incremental improvement.
Right.
But other H2 innovations, they're truly disruptive. They point towards something completely different, something H1 can't just absorb.
Okay. And the third?
Horizon 3, H3. This represents the future.
Yeah.
The emergence of a fundamentally new system. The long-term successor to business as usual. A real paradigm shift. And here's the interesting part. Pockets of H3 often exist right now, even while H1 is dominant.
Like on the fringes.
Exactly. Small startups, research projects, niche communities, experimenting with totally new ways of doing things. They act like beacons of what is possible, glimpses of a different future.
Okay, H1 present, H2 transition, H3 future. How does this connect to the utopia-dystopia thing?
Well, those dystopian anxieties, that feeling of tech causing more problems than it solves. Often, that comes from getting stuck in Horizon 2.
Stuck in the messy middle.
Kind of. Because what do we humans tend to do? We default to the path of least resistance. We get these powerful new H3 tools, and we use them just to do the old H1 things slightly better, slightly faster.
Optimizing the old system instead of creating a new one.
Precisely. We upgrade the software but keep the old mindset.
Yeah.
This leads to what the source calls innovation theater. Companies adopt the look of innovation, new apps, AI projects, but they don't make the deep cultural, strategic, systemic changes needed to actually reach H3.
So the topian goal is?
The topian goal is to consciously choose our role. To act, as the International Futures Forum puts it, like midwives for the new culture, actively helping H3 possibilities be born. And at the same time, be hospice workers for the dying, one gently but firmly helping H1 systems fade away when they're no longer useful.
Wow, midwives and hospice workers, that's quite a role.
It is. It's about managing decline and intentionally fostering the new. It takes vision, but also practicality.
Okay, so we're not just letting the old stuff crumble, we're actively helping it phase out while nurturing the new. That sounds active, maybe uncomfortable.
It often is.
And this getting stuck in Horizon 2, just making old things a bit more efficient, that's where the problem lies.
It's a huge part of it, because we limit technology's incredible potential to just mere operational efficiencies.
Right, like your example, using AI just to answer calls 10% faster.
Exactly. Instead of asking, could AI help us redesign this whole process so people don't need to call as often?
That's a totally different question.
It is. And this focus on just efficiency ties into technological solutionism, that term Evgeny Morozov uses. This sort of naive belief that we can fix deep, complex human or social problems with a simple tech patch.
Like an app will solve inequality.
Pretty much. It often ignores the root causes, the human context, the ethics. And Morozov points out it often turns public problems into private ones. Instead of, say, regulating polluters, we get apps to track our personal carbon footprint. It shifts the focus.
Ah, I see.
And this obsession with efficiency, above all else, it's a major source of our tech anxiety. Why? Because we're applying the H1 managerial mindset focused on optimizing what exists to H3, visionary tools which demand a total rethink.
We're using future tech with a past mindset.
Perfectly put. The source uses this fantastic analogy. Imagine the train as new technology. It's a super fast, sleek, futuristic, train-think AI, quantum computing, all that H3 potential.
Okay, got the train.
Now, picture the tracks as old systems. These are rickety old wooden tracks. They represent our outdated processes, our H1 managerial thinking, our rigid old structures.
Uh-oh. I see where this is going.
Right. The core problem, the absurdity, is the mismatch as inefficiency. We're putting this incredible high-speed H3 train onto these ancient H1 tracks built for a totally different era.
And then we complain it's not going fast enough.
Exactly. We wonder why we're not getting the revolutionary results. It's the perfect picture of focusing only on making old things slightly better instead of building the new system the train actually needs.
Absolutely. And if we connect that to the bigger picture, we see it's not about minor adjustments. It demands a fundamental rethink, a brave reimagining. Getting to H3, true systemic integration. It requires, as the source says, a leap of faith, a willingness to question everything.
More than just questioning, right?
Right.
It sounds like letting go. Yes. It means stopping the endless cycle of trying to improve the old model, patching its cracks with shiny new tech, and starting to build a new model. From the ground up, the core question has to change completely. Not, how can this tech make us faster? That's H1. But, what does this technology now make possible? That's the H3 question. What new capabilities, interactions, futures can we create?
That sounds like systems thinking.
It aligns perfectly with systems thinking, yes. Thinkers like Donella Meadows argue that the deepest, most lasting change comes from altering the system's structure, its interconnections, and especially its paradigm, the shared beliefs, the unconscious assumptions that underpin the whole thing.
That sounds hard, changing the underlying beliefs.
It's absolutely the hardest part. It means really seeing that our old structures, org charts, business models, school systems, even daily routines were designed around the limitations of the past. Limitations that maybe don't exist anymore because of new tech.
So patching them is like redecorating a house that's about to fall down.
Exactly. Constantly remodeling, putting in new furniture, but ignoring the crumbling foundation. At some point, you have to face facts. The old structure just isn't viable. It can't support the new possibilities. You have to be willing to, as the source vividly puts it, take the doorknob off and put a new house on it.
Wow. Take the doorknob off and put a new house on it. That's bold.
It is. It's a metaphor for a complete foundational rebuild. This isn't incremental tinkering. It's intentional reinvention. It's the tough but necessary work of designing a new utopian system,
Yeah.
one that's native to the tools we have now and aligned with the future we actually want, not just the future we defaulted into.
That new house analogy is really sticking with me. It captures the scale, the courage needed. So, okay, bringing it back. What does this mean for you listening right now in your job, your life, your community?
Yeah, how does this apply personally?
It means trying to look past the defaults, right? Past the quick fixes. It means embracing that mindset shift. Stop just thinking about new apps, small tools to patch old problems. And start thinking about new applications, fundamentally new ways these technologies could reshape things for the better. Ways driven by human well-being.
Right. Thinking bigger.
Yeah.
More systemic.
Yeah. And this connects right back to what we talked about earlier, reclaiming your agency, pushing back on the automation alibi. You have a real role here, asking those deeper H3 questions, challenging the H1 status quo, demanding that tech actually serves people, not just efficiency metrics.
It empowers the individual to think differently.
Totally. What kind of different, more humane future could we build if we started applying this intentional, utopian, new house thinking everywhere? The future isn't just something that happens. It's something we're building, consciously or not, right now. Hashtag outro.
Wow, okay. We have covered a lot of ground today.
We really have.
From digging into those quiet lies systems tell us with the automation alibi and why it's so vital to reclaim our agency,
Pushing back.
all the way to embracing this utopian idea, having the guts to build totally new systems, new houses, instead of just patching the old ones forever. Right. Moving beyond just H2 fixes.
Yeah. And I think the biggest takeaway, the real core message from Dr. Arnold's work here is that your role listening right now in shaping this digital future, it's not just passive consumption. It's not just clicking accept.
It has to be active.
It has to be active creation, informed participation. We really hope this deep dive encourages you to reflect a bit on your own tech habits, to maybe challenge those computer says no moments next time they happen, and to start seeing the human choices hidden behind the screens and algorithms all around us.
Yeah, and maybe this leaves us with one last sort of provocative question for you to chew on. If we accept this idea that every tech limitation, every system error is ultimately rooted in human choices, human priorities,
Okay.
then what underlying values, what deeply embedded societal priorities are we unknowingly propping up just by accepting the status quo? Think about all the things we could do, the problems we could solve, but don't, because the system won't let us. What values does that inaction protect?
That's deep. What are we preserving by default?
Exactly. And then flip it. What radically different values focus squarely on human well-being? Maybe connection, creativity, fairness. What could we deliberately bake into the DNA of the next generation of tech if we really committed to building that new house together instead of just endlessly fixing the leaks in the old one?
What could we build if we started from different values?
Right. So maybe a little challenge for you. Try to actively spot just one old track in your own life, work, community, maybe just a personal habit, where a new train, some new tech or possibility feels stuck, inefficient, not living up to its potential because of the old system.
Okay, find a mismatch.
Find a mismatch, and then just imagine. What would it really take? What courage, what new thinking to build a completely new house around that possibility? That's your challenge, and maybe your profound opportunity to stop being just a user and start being an architect of a more humane digital future.